The first sign isn't a sound, it's a vibration. You feel it through the frozen ground beneath your feet before you ever see the herd. A faint tremor becomes a steady rhythm. Then, over the crest of a snow-covered ridge, dark shapes emerge from the morning mist. 1, 5, 20. An entire family of woolly mammoths is moving across the open steppe. Each animal stands nearly 4 meters tall. Their curved tusks can reach several meters in length. Beneath a shaggy coat hangs a thick layer of insulating fat, built to survive winters that would kill almost anything else. To a hungry human band, this isn't just a herd, it's the difference between life and death. One successful hunt could feed dozens of people for weeks. The meat would be dried or frozen in the cold air. Fat would become fuel for fires and a vital source of calories. Bones would be transformed into tools, shelters, and weapons. Hides would become warm clothing strong enough to withstand the brutal winter. But getting close enough to kill one was another matter entirely. A charging mammoth could weigh more than 6 tons. One swing of its tusks could throw a hunter several meters through the air. Even a frightened calf was dangerous, protected by adults that would fight to the death. Humans didn't defeat giants because they were stronger. They defeated them because they planned. Long before the hunt began, scouts studied the herd for days. They learned its routines, identified the oldest animals, watched where they drank, where they rested, and how they reacted to danger. Patience became a weapon. The hunters understood something every predator knows. Success often depends on choosing the right moment, not the strongest attack. When the day finally arrived, everyone had a role. Some hunters moved quietly along the flanks, steering the herd without causing panic. Others waited farther ahead, near narrow valleys, steep ravines, marshy ground, or patches of deep snow where the mammoth's enormous weight worked against them. No one acted alone. Every movement depended on trust. A single mistake could send the entire herd stampeding in the wrong direction, or worse, straight toward the hunters themselves. As the trap closed, shouting erupted across the frozen plain. Spears flew through the icy air. The startled herd thundered forward, exactly where the hunters hoped. Clouds of snow exploded beneath massive feet. The earth shook. Adults surrounded their calves, trumpeting loudly as they searched for an escape. Then one animal stumbled. Perhaps it slipped on hidden ice. Perhaps it sank into soft ground beneath the snow. Perhaps it was simply old and slower than the rest. Within seconds, every hunter focused on that single mammoth. No wasted effort, no reckless heroics, only discipline. Again and again, stone-tipped spears struck from different directions. Hunters stayed mobile, forcing the exhausted animal to turn repeatedly, draining its strength while avoiding those deadly tusks. The battle could last for hours, sometimes even longer. Victory came not through one perfect blow, but through relentless teamwork. When the giant finally collapsed, silence returned to the frozen plain. Relief spread across every face. The danger was over. The real work had just begun. Nothing was wasted. Experienced butchers worked quickly before scavengers arrived. Thick slabs of meat were carefully removed. Fat was collected with equal care, valued almost as highly as the meat itself. The hide, sometimes several centimeters thick, required incredible effort to remove. Once cleaned and prepared, it became blankets, clothing, boots, and coverings for shelters. Bones served countless purposes. Long leg bones became building supports. Ribs formed curved frameworks. Shoulder blades became digging tools. Tusks could be carved into needles, ornaments, or spear points. Even tendons found new life as incredibly strong thread for sewing. To modern eyes, this level of resourcefulness seems extraordinary. For Ice Age people, it was simply common sense. Every part of the animal represented days or even weeks of survival. The hunt didn't just provide food, it strengthened the community. Children watched skilled adults work together. Young hunters learned techniques that no words alone could teach. Elders passed on knowledge refined across generations. Every successful hunt became a lesson for the next. Over time, these lessons spread far beyond a single family. Groups met during seasonal migrations, exchanging tools, stories, and ideas. Stone, unlike any found locally, appeared hundreds of kilometers from its source. showing that people traveled vast distances or traded with neighboring groups. Shells from distant coastlines have been discovered far inland. Rare minerals crossed mountain ranges. Ideas traveled just as easily as objects. One group developed a better spear point. Another discovered warmer clothing designs. A third found new ways to preserve meat through freezing and drying. Innovation spread across the Ice Age world long before anyone invented writing. But survival required far more than hunting. The weather itself remained humanity's greatest enemy. Winter storms could arrive with little warning. Blinding snow erased familiar landmarks. Temperatures plunged so low that exposed skin froze within minutes. Entire hunting expeditions risked disappearing into white emptiness. To endure these conditions, humans became master builders. In places where caves offered shelter, families occupied them seasonally, transforming dark chambers into surprisingly organized homes. Fireplaces sat at the center of daily life. Sleeping areas were lined with animal hides. Stone tools were carefully arranged. Food was stored away from waste. Some caves even reveal evidence of designated workspaces where tools were repaired or hides were prepared. Where caves didn't exist, people built shelters of their own. In the open tundra, mammoth bones formed sturdy frames, covered with thick hides stitched together using bone needles and sinew. Inside, several families could gather around a fire, protected from winds that howled endlessly across the frozen plains. These homes weren't crude shelters. They were carefully engineered for one purpose: keeping people alive. Clothing evolved just as dramatically. Early humans learned that loose hides alone weren't enough. Warmth depended on trapping layers of air close to the body. Using finely crafted bone needles, they stitched fitted garments, remarkably similar in principle to modern winter clothing. Boots insulated with fur protected feet from frostbite. Layered trousers allowed easier movement. Hooded cloaks shielded faces from freezing winds. Without these innovations, large parts of the Ice Age world would have remained impossible to inhabit. Perhaps the greatest invention wasn't physical at all. It was communication. Imagine returning from a dangerous hunt. You don't simply celebrate, you explain. Where the mammoths were moving, where wolves had been seen, which river remained frozen, which valley offered shelter. Every conversation increased the group's chances of survival. Knowledge became humanity's most valuable inheritance. Unlike food, it couldn't be stolen. Unlike fire, it couldn't be extinguished. Unlike weapons, it only became stronger when shared. As centuries passed, humans grew more confident. They explored farther into unfamiliar lands. They crossed mountains. They followed rivers into territories no human had ever seen. Some eventually reached the vast grasslands connecting Asia and North America through a frozen land bridge now hidden beneath the waters of the Bering Strait. Without realizing it, they were beginning one of the greatest migrations in human history. The Ice Age wasn't trapping humanity, it was opening new worlds. But while people mastered hunting, shelter, and survival, something even more remarkable was unfolding around their campfires. In the middle of one of the harshest climates Earth has ever known, humans began creating beauty. They painted, they carved, they buried their dead with care. They imagined worlds beyond the one they could see. Those acts would reveal that surviving the Ice Age wasn't only about staying alive. It was about becoming fully human.